So it's now available on pip, you can install it there. For Jupyter Lab you also need to install a lab extension, but it's also available through npm. Also commented a lot more on the codes, it's a lot simpler to understand, get everything. And we have quite a lot of sample codes. I mean, we have a GitHub for this as well, so you can see all the code. In that GitHub, we also have quite a lot of samples, sample notebooks that you can use and see all the functionality we got. So, this will be quite quick, so I won't explain too much we're doing here. But anyway, one really nice feature in Jupyter Lab is that basically you can create a new view for this. We can move it around a bit. There we go, then we can close this one again. So now basically we can scroll here without actually interfering with this part, but all the communication will be done. So basically we're going to send a lot of commands back and forth between this widget, this front end, and Jupyter code. So for example, we can see whatever center of the sky is. So we'll send a command and we'll get some round deck where we are. Should be the center of that one, yeah. We can also, of course, I mean, so we'll be sending measurement back and forth. So in case it will be a bit too slow, you can customize the timeout here if you want. But maybe the more interesting things will be, so you can actually look a bit more into investigate. I mean, what we use ESA Sky for, finding data, or I mean, looking around in the sky, finding data. So for example, we go to Messier 101, set it here, and then ESA Sky does as it always does. I mean, you find the counting available data in this area, this screen, which you can see up here. But now we can also download it and get it back into the Python code. So I mean, here you can basically see we use pandas, used for pretty easy to visualize it. So you can see the amount of observation in this area for the available missions that we have in ESA Sky at the moment. So for example, maybe I'm interested in looking at the Chandra observation in this area. So what you can do then is we just plot the Chandra observations. So here you get all those available in ESA Sky. So I mean, that's one thing. Of course, maybe we want to actually get this data back. I mean, here we have the data of the names. I mean, for observation, maybe not too interesting. You can also plot catalogs, of course, and spectrum. But we can still, it's showing you here, so you can get all of this data we have here back into our Jupyter notebook. I mean, then we get some slightly hidden here as well. It's not very too interesting in the GUI. But maybe, I mean, what we can do with this, that we can actually start utilizing, I mean, looping over stuff in the Jupyter code. So, for example, maybe we want to look at the postcards for some of these observations. So close this. So, I mean, we can take the fourth one in the list here and look at this postcard. I mean, we can use this other Python code just to download it, because this would basically just be a URL. So we do that. And if the scroll starts working, there we go. So example, I mean, you can quite quickly just check the postcards, images like this. We can change it. Maybe we don't need to change it, put another one. I mean, of course, you can also, I mean, you saw there was a product URL there. So I mean, you can actually access the FITS files. So it's quickly, this is just a quick function to catch the file name from the URL. So you can just look here, so already downloaded a few files. This is showing you when it downloads. So I mean, this will just be, you can change this to the 7th one. So basically this is just another Python function, a request. So we just download the file from this URL. And this will probably take just a bit. And we can look again, and there we go, we downloaded a new file, download this. I mean, of course, you can use a loop through all of these. Very simple to download all the data you want to. So that's one thing. Another thing we implemented in ESA Sky, and also, of course, Python commands for that, is that we created a slider for hips, so we can move between hips a bit more smoothly. So we have some commands. We'll just add a multiple of hips available in ESA Sky. So you can see them here. And then we have this slider in the GUI, which moves around quite nicely. You can just move in between them back and forth. Like this. It's a very nice feature we saw first in the Alma interface. We thought that this should be integrated as well in ESA Sky. And of course we can do a bit more control with it. We can move wherever we want with this slider. And we can also get back the number of skies, of course. And then we can use it to create our own video, for example, our own player. Just basically sending this command multiple times. So you're showing it here. This will just automatically move between these hips quite nicely. Another thing we've also done a bit quickly is that we're now fully implementing it so you can visualize your own local hips from your local computer in ESA Sky through Jupyter this way. What it basically does, if you do this here, we basically create sorry, I lost the name. You basically create a quick web server inside this Jupyter Python, and then you can access it through, Other Than Light can access it through this URL now. So it's a local host URL, so you can access the hips from there. So basically now, you can use ESA Sky completely offline now. Both, Fabrizio showed earlier that you can visualize catalogs from your local computer as well. So now you can do all of it completely offline. Talking about Planck, I thought just do a bit of extra nice feature that we got here as well. So we can get all the available hips that we have, which is quite a lot. You get this quite huge dictionary here from this, which maybe doesn't make too much sense. But then we just look for all the ones with Planck and not the smooth ones. And we get this list of 9 hips. And again, we can just add them, all of them quickly like this. So you get the whole list here. Close it, and then we can do some other communications. There's a lot of code just to basically create a new slider, so you can have a slider in your Python interface instead. This is another IP widget, which is the Jupyter widget stuff. Basically what it does, again, we send this message a lot of times. So now we use this to slide in between all the wavelengths of the available Planck hips around the Orion. So yeah, that's what we implemented so far now in ESA Sky. Hope you will want to use it. Thank you.